Yo, yo, yo. Welcome in, Raider Nation. What's good? It's your host, Raider Ragu. Welcome in to the They Follow from Burners podcast. Before we get started, please follow the show on all podcast platforms. Also follow us on YouTube at Raider Ragu. They Follow from Burners. Either way, you can find us. Please like the show, share, and subscribe, and comment on YouTube. Thanks for the support. We appreciate you guys. So yeah, this is a cool episode, man. I got my guy in to chop it up with me. One of my longtime partners. We go back over 30 years. Big time football guy, Raider guy as well. My guy, Chan Norton. Give him a nice round.
All right now. Look at you, big dog. I see you doing big things. I appreciate you letting me on the show.
Yeah,
Fabulous. I followed you and I've heard a lot of things, and I'm very excited to be here tonight.
man, and we appreciate you stopping by.
Absolutely. We go way
Chop
back.
up some foot like only
Oh,
we
good.
can. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
So not gonna do a lot of hesitating and pump faking and whatnot, man. We're gonna jump right into it.
Absolutely.
So the Raiders hired AP, right? You're aware of that. I would imagine, unless you've been under a rock. Everybody knows that. So I would like to get your take on it, man, because we were talking yesterday and earlier, and I felt like you had an interesting take on it, man. So please give us your thoughts and don't hold back on the hiring of Antonio Pierce, Raiders head coach.
Well, first, I want to say I'm very proud. It's looking real good. I've been knowing you for a lot of years, and it's awesome to see how you've been able to come in here and let our Raider Nation know that we got some true diehard fans, and I'm very excited to be here.
Thank you, big
So
dog.
I've been a Raider fan since 1979. I'm going to say 79 because I was about 9 years old and I can really understand football. So it's been a long time. I was kind of torn between the Rams and the Raiders. And you had to make a decision in your youth that when the Raiders left, I left with them. And I've been a fan ever since then. Ever since your boy King ran down the sideline with number 33 with the big shoulder pads, and he
Man.
scored a chip in the Super Bowl.
And you know
But
what
with
about Kenny King? Chad, not to cut you off.
yes,
Kenny King,
sir.
Kenny King had wheels, bro. I was
Yes, he
watching
did.
it. Yeah.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. Yes, he
Go
did.
ahead. Go ahead, man. I don't mean to stop you.
So, I know everybody can see the color of my skin, and so the first thing that comes to mind is I love AP. And an African American hire is always a wonderful thing for football. 85% of the league is black. For a long time, black quarterbacks were being held back and black coaches weren't being hired. And so the Raiders, I have to give so much kudos because we had Rich Versace. We had a chance to hire a really good, solid head coach in his interim. He did very well. The players responded to him, and we let him go. And so I know that weighed heavily on Mark. And so he actually pulled the trigger. I have to give him credit that he went ahead and hired an interim coach. And the first thing I want to say is I wish him well, and I want him to be the very best he can be. But his back is really against the wall. And I wanted to read something to you, Duro. I actually did a little research. Sports Illustrated put an article out on head coaches who were interims and became full-time head coaches. And so Sports Illustrated put an article out a couple years ago, and I want to read it to you and your audience. And it says,
Oh, it's a couple years old. It's not
yeah,
okay. All right. So,
yeah, it's a couple years old. So I mean, you're not going to include AP,
but yeah, interim coaches. Period. Though. Yeah.
yeah. So history has not been, I'll read it verbatim. History has not been kind to interim coaches. Since 1960, the start of the game's modern era, there have been 87 coaches in the NFL. Only
87,
16,
87
87
interim?
interim coaches in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
Only 16 of them managed to win more games than they lost during their interim stints. And only 2 of the 87 took their teams to the playoff during those interim seasons. So those numbers are glaring, right? And so this is what Antonio Pierce is against. He's against, I'm firing everybody up, getting everybody excited, and everybody's going to play extremely hard for me at the end of the season. No secret, nobody liked Josh McDaniels. He wasn't great with the players and he wasn't great with the game plan. And he actually lost the locker room a long time ago. So Antonio comes in. He's a former player. He played at a high level. He won a Super Bowl. He demanded respect. He instantly won the locker room. Okay. He went 5-4 in 9 games. And you can, if you were a blind man, you could see how the players played. They raised a level of game. They were able to play very hard for him
So
and finish strong.
would you say
Mm-hmm.
that they start playing like the Raiders from when you spoke of earlier, when you first started watching them? Did you feel like you saw flashes of the Raiders playing that way, Raider type football?
I believe so. I believe football games are won in the trenches. And if you look at Max Crosby and some of those guys on the front line, they played hard every single down. As you know, Max
Yeah,
Crosby, he never comes out the game.
right.
You know, you need veterans like that. But they played very hard. The secondary played hard. They were playing some solid defense, and I thought that they played like the Raiders of old. They
Yeah,
never gave up. They were in all the games, even though we lost a couple, close games. They stayed in the games, and it showed that they played very hard. It looked on the field that they would run through the wall or through, what they say, run through the garage for a guy, and they play real
right,
hard.
right. Yeah, so that was what I observed, big dog. It seemed like I was watching like Madden or not, maybe not Madden's Raiders, but
Yeah, yeah,
Flores for sure. Art Shell's guys, the guys that we play football, but we actually it was a little bit of an attitude that they had with it. Nowadays, you can't really do it, because some of the stuff the Raiders did back in those days, you get thrown out of the game and be suspended and
yeah.
shit for it nowadays. But I'm just saying that kind of like that edge, man. And then the way they start playing defense, it seemed like everybody got better, man, on D once they
Mm-hmm.
AP and Patrick Graham kind of took over. So I agree with you on that, dog. So, but with those statistics, man, he has a tough job ahead of him, and I have no, I coming in when I was saying hire him, I wasn't thinking it was gonna be easy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's not coaching in the National Football League. Being a head coach is not easy. So,
Yeah.
but my thing was the guys want him and the guys play hard for him. The fan base loved him. He ignited the fan
Mm-hmm.
base. And I did a show talking about these guru coaches and how
Yeah.
that trend needs to kind of like fade away for a little
Yeah.
while. And I feel like, with Dan Campbell and now D'Amico Ryans, guys like this
Mm-hmm.
starting to emerge as former players that are, D'Amico is a defensive guy, but he's over there coaching the ball team. He's not holding the play sheet, walking around calling plays. And shout out to guys that are able to do that and still win championships like Andy Reid and Sean McVay. Those are really, in recent memory, those are the two guys I remember holding a play sheet, calling plays, winning Super Bowls. Belichick never had a play sheet.
Yeah.
He had some stuff that he used to write down as the course of the game went on, but he didn't have no big play sheet over there. How many championships did he win as a coach? So I'm just saying, maybe it's time for
Mm-hmm.
the emergence of the former athlete, kind of
Yeah.
the non-guru coach, the leader of men, right? A
Yeah.
leader. And
Yeah.
then we'll let the coordinators be the gurus, bro.
Yeah.
We need a leader, you know what I mean? So, okay.
Yeah, like a
That was
CEO,
very,
right? Like a
yeah,
CEO. I
that's in
think my
fact what
last
you are, right? That's what you
and
are.
people don't even know Dan Campbell. Before he came to the Lions, he was an interim coach, right? He was an interim coach for some time. He didn't get hired at that job, but he was the
Yeah.
interim coach. And before we move on, here is the challenge. Here's the two challenges for Antonio.
Uh,
So even though we were very excited at the end of the year, at the end of the day, he went 5-4. Okay. And the players played hard. So as you go into the next season, here's his challenge. Were the players playing hard for him? Because a lot of players were playing hard for their jobs. A lot of players were playing hard for interviews and, trying out for different teams.
yeah,
And
the
so
next job. Yeah, for
their
sure.
next job, right? Right. And
Yeah.
so what's going to happen if he gets on a 2-game losing streak? He gets on a 3-game losing streak. How is his offseason going to go? How is he going to talk to the vets? He's never been a head coach at any level. And so he is really going to have to, one, get an offensive guy who's really can help develop that side of the football. And two, you're absolutely correct. He's going to have to take more of a CEO approach because he's probably really very rarely been in a quarterback room. He's probably very rarely been in an offensive coordinator meetings.
Real
Now
talk.
he's going to have to be in those meetings.
Yeah.
He's going to have to be on that side of the ball, talking to the offensive line guy. So it's a very big shift. What he has done, he's talked to some real good vets, Marvin Lewis, Tom Coughlin. Both of those guys
Yeah.
are rock solid.
Yeah. And they it was documented that during his tenure right here as an interim, that he went in those rooms that you just mentioned for the first time, bro. Like,
Yeah,
why
exactly.
would he have been in there before? He wouldn't have. You know what I mean? So he went and sat in some of those meetings. So he was able to get that kind of that process going to where evaluating all his different rooms and not just being, focused in on offense. And I'm not saying he's an offensive guy, but I'm talking about these guys that's walking around with these play sheets
Yeah,
when I say offensive guy. So of course he wasn't the decor or the offensive. He wasn't a coordinator on the team. So
yeah.
never, would have been walking around with a play sheet per se. But I'm just saying, just that look, bro. I'm kind of had enough. I had enough of that. Just coach, man. Just coach.
You got to be a manager. You got to be a manager, right? It's
Coach
easy when you're a
everybody.
supervisor, you're on the ground floor, you're talking to the staff, you cool with everybody. But when you become a
Yeah.
manager, you can't be on the floor like that. You got to be
Hanging with your
everywhere.
buddies, right? Yeah. Yeah. You got
Yeah.
to be everybody.
You got to see everything and you got to see the future, right? You
And you
got to
know
make
what,
sure.
Chan? I just thought about something. I would,
Yes.
I wonder if we did a poll of players that are, the defensive players of teams with those offensive guru head coaches. Like, how do they feel about that?
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Because it's a
Yeah,
lot of them. I just, I wonder, that would be interesting to me.
very much.
I would think that it makes the defense a little bit closer, tighter, a little more, have their coaches back a little bit more because
Hmm.
it's just them over there. It's, it's
Yeah,
like the head coach really care about the offense. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So that
yeah.
D4 and those position coaches really are end up being tight with the defense on teams with coaches like that. I
Well, we've
think.
seen that happen. We've seen that happen. Tampa Bay had the blueprint to do that, right? Because Todd Bowles was a defensive coach, right?
Uh-huh.
And then what? John, right? Who was the head coach?
Todd Bowles, but before Todd Bowles, Bruce Arians.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Bruce
yeah,
Arians, right? So
yeah,
yeah, Bruce Arians. It was like, hey Todd, you got all that, handle that, and it worked out.
yeah. I like Todd Bowles. I wish him the best as well. I'm glad that he
Absolutely.
got his team into the playoffs because you know what, you know,
Yeah,
2 years. Yeah,
yeah. 9-8. They was gonna do some questioning
right.
about job security. It's job security the day you get hired if you're a black head coach. The day you get hired, it's a job
Absolutely.
security situation, right? So Antonio Pierce is
Let's
gonna
keep
have
it
to
1,000.
he's gonna have to understand that it's going to be different now. The
Yeah,
press is going to be different. How they talk to him, they're going to bait him. They're going to be social media. They're going to say a lot of things, how he looks on the sideline, what he says in the press conference. Everything's going to
Yeah,
be magnified. So it'll be really
yeah.
good for him to have talk to those Marvin Lewis and those guys who've been through the ringer and had tough questions, because he's going to have some tough questions and he's going to have to be ready for
You
that,
know,
because
also,
they're going to
bro,
come from everywhere, right? They're going to come from everywhere.
no question. What I found interesting also was that Mark Davis
Yeah.
hired AP, right? He
Hmm.
didn't hire the GM and then let the GM hire AP. He hired AP and then he hired the GM. I feel like that was a key move, bro, because
Yes.
at the end of the day, AP goes 6-11 next year. Telesco can turn around and be like, "Hey, Mark, or press. I didn't hire this guy. He wasn't my guy.
Yeah.
So we might think about getting my guy in here." You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
feel like Mark, by doing that, he gave Telesco a little action in it. I ain't gonna say the first year, but if things don't go right, he can be the one that comes in and says, "Hey man, yeah, this was never my guy. Let's get a different coach in here." So AP, that's just another angle of looking at it. I wish him the best, obviously. Um, so
I
now,
don't think people look at that angle. I don't think people look at that angle enough, because I was actually looking at social media a lot, and they were saying, well, there was a news guy that came out and said, hey, the Raiders haven't hired, AP, what's going on? And then there was a lot of chatter saying, oh, typically organizations and franchises, they hire the GM first. And I think
yeah,
it was a significant move, and it really made a statement that, Mark Davis said, hey, I'm in control. There is a chain of command. And so the buck stops here, not at the GM. I'm the
yeah,
shot caller. And when he hired AP in front of the GM, he sent the message to the fan base. I believe in this guy, and
yeah,
we're trying to win.
yeah. The AP is my guy. Period.
Period.
Yeah,
So even if you come and try to talk to me on the side, he's my guy.
right. Yeah, that is a statement. That is a statement, Hire.
Yeah.
And that's good stuff, bro. So we gonna
Yeah.
segue into. So we got your thoughts on that, and that was great, man. I appreciate
Thank
your
you.
insight
Yes,
on
sir.
that and
Yeah.
the research done.
Hmm.
Appreciate it. Now, next question for you though, as we segue into the next segment here. What direction? We already know what we're doing defensively. We might have to hire a couple new coaches, but for the most part, we're settled in over there, leadership wise, scheme. Like I said, we might need to add a guy or two, but we know what we're doing. We got our shit together over there. We finished strong on defense. Now, on defense. Now, what direction would you like to see the Raiders go offensively? Now, I'm not saying a specific like name of OC or anything,
Yeah.
but just in the style of play per se.
The NFL has changed, man. It's changed to an offensive kind of league. You look at the play calls, look how the referees call the game. It's an offense, and you need a quarterback. So, in my opinion, you always have to start at the offensive line, because if you can't protect your guy, it's going to be a problem. So, you start at there, you start at the offensive line, and then you got to look who's in the room. Aiden, he did a good job, but he's extremely limited, and we saw what he can do. And if you are a new head coach, you probably don't want to hit your horse to O'Connell. So you want to probably get a bridge guy, someone, a veteran, if some of those guys are kind of a Ryan Fitzpatrick kind of guy, a Kirk Cousins kind of guy. You got to kind of survey the
Okay.
league. That's where the GM comes in, right? Where they can just settle things down, because you're a new coach. You can't be really trying. You're not an offensive guru. That's not your thing. So you can't be worried about, is the quarterback position going to be rocky? You want to be able to go into training camp with a solid veteran who's going to get the guys in order, who's going to tell guys where they need to be. who's going to be able to work it out before the draft and be able to just
Word.
talk to guys and settle the room. That is going to help you tremendously, right? You get a bridge guy. So that's in the short term because you have to let out Mark know, hey, I'm about winning immediately because everybody know
Yeah.
once you get a rookie quarterback, you're gonna lose some games. Okay. And then you really have to get you and the GM and your guys, you have to say, hey, we have to also think about the future and and let the Raider fan base know we got your back. And
So
there's a
look,
dynamic
let
guy.
me ask you. Let
There's
me
let
ask
me finish this point.
you. Uh-huh.
Let me finish this point for you. There's a dynamic guy who Mel Kiper says has really, really vaulted up the draft charts, right? A lot of GMs are saying that he is the guy. And honestly, Duro, you're a football guy. The pocket passer is really becoming in the rearview mirror. At some point, you're going to have to escape that pocket and get a couple yards to move those sticks. And
Yes,
so
sir.
for me, I would do what I have to do to move up and get Jaden Daniels with the bridge guy. Your thoughts?
Okay. I'm glad that I did interrupt you because you end up answering the question at the end of your thought right there. So you're saying bridge guy and whatever you got to do to get up to get
Yeah.
Daniel.
Yeah. Think how exciting that would be. You're going to get a guy you recruited. You were in his
Yeah.
living room with his parents. You know him. You know what his character is. He showed his character, right? He had
Yeah.
he had some adversity. He overcame it. He had some games in the SEC. You watch this guy. He has escapability. And then you fast forward and you look, who are the quarterbacks left in the 4 games? There's only really one traditional pocket passer because I looked at Brock Purdy. He was escaping the pocket and getting around and was able to move. And so we need that in this new age of the
And
NFL.
man, I 1000% agree with you, bro. So a little something that I heard, it's ironic that you say that I heard before we came on. Uh,
Yes.
the Raiders were interested in interviewing the guy by the name of Thad Lewis for their offensive coordinator job. So,
Mm-hmm.
as I looked into it a little bit further on Thad Lewis,
Mm-hmm.
he was at UCLA on the staff when Daniels went to Arizona State. What's crucial though is his top two teams were UCLA and Arizona State, and Thad
Mm-hmm.
Lewis was the coach in charge of recruiting him. So the Raiders are interested in interviewing Thad Lewis, who has ties to Daniels. We know
Mm-hmm.
AP does. So, man, it's starting to kind of look that way, bro. But I will say this too. They interviewed Luke Getsy today,
Okay.
or no, yesterday. Now,
Okay.
he was the Chicago Bears old core. Chicago Bears have already hired Shane Waldron from
Okay.
Seattle. So you're like, okay, well, why the hell we keep, hiring these fired guys? First Telesco, now
Yeah.
this guy.
Yeah.
Well, in this case, what's
Yeah.
interesting is
Yeah.
uh I would say, what if we were interviewing him to really see what he thought about Justin Fields? Feel me?
Mm.
So
Yes.
instead of like getting Justin's people on the phone and getting Chicago kind of I ain't gonna say in a frenzy, but in such a way where they thinking we finna make a trade, just on the low, kind of inquiring about Justin by interviewing this guy because they're not gonna hire. I don't think they're gonna hire this little Gatsy.
Yeah.
Um, so just little tidbits there, bro. But I'm with you, man. So,
I'm gonna give you a sleeper. I'm gonna give you a sleeper, Daryl.
huh,
I am on speed dial and I am texting Eric Bieniemy. I am letting him know that first, you deserve a head coaching job. You're an amazing coordinator. If you can't see how different the Kansas City Chiefs are without him, then there's something inherently wrong with your eyes. And I'm going to say, if you do not get the job that you want, this is yours, carte blanche. You will have free reign into developing my quarterback and my system, and I will be out your way.
Wow. Wow.
First. Secondly, I'm looking for somebody like a Kliff Kingsbury, right? Or if not a Kliff
They
King,
interviewed him
somebody
today.
in that, yeah, somebody in that range as far as offense, because he has that college connection. The enemy, those guys they have an offensive type of mind that can help, move forward. And I don't have to be, as AP doesn't have to be so worried about the offense on, 3rd and 4 in the fourth quarter. And I'm looking at you like, are you gonna Dan Campbell me and just running straight up the middle and then go for it on fourth and 2, 65% of the time. I'm looking at that. And then secondly,
Yeah.
I'm looking for two I'm looking for two upgrades. You need a tight end. And you need a tight end that can work that middle, and you need a tight end that can help you out and do a check down. And secondly, I think we're moving to two-back systems. And I know it's been a while, and I know I'm not saying nothing new. I'm acting like this is like, oh, it's a new thing Chan is saying. But a
Yeah.
two-back system, Detroit has it just right. You want a thumper, a physical guy, and then you want a dynamic Bijan Robinson. Then you want a right.
Jameer Gibbs.
You
You
want
want
a Jameer Gibbs.
Jameer Gibbs,
You
yeah.
you want to just
Or
be
the
able
guy
to
Brees Hall.
and to a lesser extent, Debo Samuel, right? You want to be able to get it to a guy in space and let him do what he do, right? Because these
Yeah.
defensive guys are just coming, and these offensive guys, they can't block them like that. They just ain't no Tony, it ain't no Anthony Munoz. It's just Laramie Tunsil was great, but he got beat a lot the other day. So it ain't really no guy that's just on some lockdown. You ain't getting up in here, Anthony Munoz. You ain't gonna touch my guy, right? Or
Yeah.
Tony Baselli kind of dudes, right? So get him in space, get him quick. Shanahan loves that kind of stuff. And that's what I would tell. That's what I'm looking for. And Kingsbury and the enemy, they know how to do that very well.
So, man, the enemy, let me start there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not mad at that. But this is America. All right. So we got
Okay.
Graham, we got AP, we got Graham, and we gonna have the enemy. Man, we gotta go 13. We gotta win then the 13 games to be successful.
I think the enemy has
You feel what I'm
gotten,
saying though?
yeah. I
What
think the
I'm
enemy
trying
is,
to not say it, but
yeah, yeah.
black
I think
black
I
coach, black
mhm.
coordinator on offense, black coordinator on defense. We got to damn near go undefeated, man, or it's gonna be like, oh, what's wrong in Las Vegas? But
I mean, it could be looked at two ways though. It could be looked at, hey, we're gonna hire the best guy, and two, we're gonna be
that should be
trendsetters.
it. Period. That should be it. We're gonna
But
hire
the
the
Raiders
best
have
guy.
Al Davis was always a trendsetter. He hired Art Shell. Okay.
Absolutely, he did. Yes.
And Art Shell was fantastic for the organization, and he had a
Yep.
good record. He
Yep.
was good. He was good with the press. He was good with the players, and we won. Okay. So if
Former
if if
player.
if AP is like, hey, you gonna let me do this, Mark? Let me do this. And the number one coordinator out there is Eric Bieniemy. Period. I mean, that quarterback in Washington. Excuse me, I know it's a podcast, but he was below average.
Big
Okay.
Sam. Big Sam was my guy, man. But yeah, he ended up not being him though.
Yeah.
Now, one thing that there was an O lineman, can't
Yeah.
recall his name right now at the moment. O lineman for Washington though. He had comments about running the
Yeah.
football this season. I don't know if you caught that.
Mhm.
He said he would have loved to have run the ball more. Said Eric passed a lot. When I looked it up, they threw the ball, I think, the second most in the league. Definitely ran the least. So they were 30th in rush attempts.
And rushes. Okay.
Yeah. So
Well,
just
mhm,
I'm
mhm.
thinking that like he was in Washington trying to win games there. They didn't have much of a rushing attack. O line was probably a bit suspect. Not gonna lie, didn't watch a ton of Commander games because I mean, let's face it, I don't like punishment.
Yeah.
Shit was
And they had a
garbage.
good they had a good running back too. He was nice.
But what I do know is the guy
Mhm.
on the O line said he felt like coach threw the ball a little bit too much.
And it might have been the same guy that said Eric Bieniemy was too hard on us, right? They had a little baby mutiny with Eric, and because he held him accountable. And you know what happened? If you look at the Kansas City Chiefs, they were up there in penalties, right?
Yeah,
As we saw the dumb penalty
without
that your
him
boy, a lot of mistakes.
when he left.
And when he left, look how many mistakes. I mean, we still talk about homeboy being off sides, right? To this day. That wouldn't have happened with Eric Bieniemy because he's a dot your I and cross your T kind of guy, and he rubs people the wrong way. And these modern day folks, it's hard for them accept discipline, right? Everybody's not LeBron James, just discipline. Like, I'm gonna eat right, I'm going to marry my high school sweetheart, and I'm going to be at the crib trying to get better. Everybody's not like that. And
No,
so
man.
the enemy's trying to make you like that, and you get bite back. So I'm not surprised by that type of comment.
Yeah. Right. You
Right?
know, let me absolutely. You know how dudes are. They just want to do what they want to do,
Yeah.
not be held accountable. Not I was gonna say judged. It ain't even judged. They don't want to be held accountable for not being as good as they could have been.
I got a
Right?
quote for you. Yeah, they interviewed Michael Strahan a couple of days ago, and they said, "Hey, man, what are your thoughts about Hall of Fame type of players, being head coaches?" And he said, "I couldn't be no. I'm gonna speak for myself. I couldn't be no head coach because I might start talking to a young dude. He's gonna look at me like I don't know what I'm talking about, and probably say something, and then y'all gonna see the first time a head coach start squabbling with one of his players." I thought that was some good tongue in cheek, man.
Hey, I feel him though. I get where he's coming from though on that, man.
Yeah, these
Uh
young guys are different. They're different, man. They're different.
man, bro, they okay, look, we not even go we could dive
Sure.
down a deep
That's
rabbit
yeah.
hole on that. So
Topic for another day.
we
Another
gonna keep
invite.
it on the rails, right?
Hmm.
So look, let me get your quick take
Sure.
on so let me get your quick take on Justin Fields.
Oh,
Everybody, all
you
the
gonna put
mocks
me.
that I've seen have them taking Caleb. So that means he's probably going to be available. What's your thought on Fields?
I was very tough on Fields early on, and he showed some promise. And so I'm not as tough on him as I was maybe 5 weeks ago. He still has some learning to do. I feel that he 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 doesn't throw into tight windows. He does not anticipate throws, right? He doesn't throw you open like I would want him to, and he doesn't run as much as I would want him to when things are broken down. And I didn't like his demeanor on the sidelines. I didn't like the things he said in the press about the coach, and he had some things to say about the coach, and that created division in the locker room. But the last 3 to 4 weeks, he showed me that he has some heart, and you can never measure heart. And I think that he's worn his welcome in Chicago, because you would be an absolute idiot to pass on Caleb Williams if you're the Chicago Bears. But I think Justin Fields in his second stint, and we've seen quarterbacks, we've seen Baker Mayfield get second chances, we've seen Jared Goff get a second chance in here in the playoffs. If he goes to the right place, in the right environment, he has a chance to get to improving and get better. You and I both know, we've been around long enough to know, let's be honest, a quarterback really needs to be in the right system and had a right coach, right? We both watched Cade McNown. We love Cade McNown at UCLA. He was awesome. He went to Chicago. His left arm was not going to work in Chicago. It would have worked better in San Francisco. It just can't happen like that. Joe Montana, awesome in San Francisco. To Jerry Rice, he go 3 for 70. But if you put Joe Montana in Buffalo, where it's cold and rainy, he doesn't have a great arm, and maybe he had a defensive coach, it may not have worked. So I think the marriage needs to happen. Justin Fields needs to get somebody who believes in him, who loves
Absolutely.
him, and then who can cultivate his skills and develop a skill set around him. He'll be all right.
So
I've changed my tune on him a little bit.
that what you just said about somebody believing in you, I would like to say that that happened in Detroit this season or in this
Miami,
last couple
Miami.
seasons. Also, Tampa Bay.
Yeah. Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah. And that's what
And
it
to a
is, bro.
and to a
Believe in
lesser
it.
extent, Baltimore Ravens. To a
Hey,
lesser extent,
yeah.
Tom
And
Monken, right?
yeah, man, on the real, you say, hey, kid, I believe in you. I got your back. Go out there and do your thing. Don't be scared to mess up. Just go
Yeah,
ball.
that's key. That's key.
Tell me, and
That's key.
I'm telling you, bro, that could go a long way, man, for players. That's a mental thing that you don't think about, or most people don't think about, but that could go a long way, brother.
It worked for Tom Brady because I guarantee you his relationship with Byron Leftwich also helped kind of bridge the gap
Yeah,
because Leftwich and Arians, they were quarterback friendly kind of guys, and that helped Brady as well.
yeah, absolutely. And they,
Because
they had a good team.
and we can see a head coach can destroy a quarterback because that's what Belichick did to Mac Jones. I wasn't a Mac Jones fan, but he was doing okay. And then when he hired two defensive guys to work on
Yeah,
an offensive
so,
coordinator with a
yeah,
new quarterback, they just
that was a
completely
terrible,
destroyed him.
that was a terrible decision. That that was a I mean, that was brutal, but I also believe
Maybe
the
one of the
guy
worst. Maybe one of the
uh
worst. Maybe one of the
what
worst.
was Kitchens in Cleveland,
Oh, I
kind
thought you were
of
gonna say Demont. Demont.
kind of yeah, he did the same thing to Baker in Cleveland. Baker say when he
Yeah.
got there, he told him to, you know,
Yeah.
tamper down the attitude and all that. And
Okay.
Sean McVay, when he got over there for the Rams, and also
Okay.
in Tampa Bay, they like, man, be yourself, bro. Be yourself. And it helped him be, come out, I feel like, and have a good campaign through for 4 Gs. I think his best statistical season as a pro, actually. So
I'm going to whisper something. I'm going to whisper something for you. Right now, Baker Mayfield is having a better career than Deshaun Watson.
that hurts me, man. It hurts. It hurts to even say, but I can't lie. I can't dispute it.
Do you know who has the number one passing yards in the playoffs right now this year?
Don't say Baker Mayfield.
Baker Mayfield. He's number one.
Wow. Is Baker
Just
under
thought you should
contract?
know.
Shit.
Nope, 1 year
Hey man, I wouldn't be mad. And I heard
at all. At
man,
all.
I ain't gonna
The,
lie.
the only problem with Baker, though, you can't bring in Baker and Jaden because Baker want to play and,
Yeah.
and he don't want to sit, and he might bring some dudes with him that's kind of if he's salty. So you want a guy that's gonna be like, if you once
Now
AP
you
pull you in the office and say, today we bringing in Duro, I want you to be like, do everything to make him sweet. I don't want you to be kind of Baker like, I
yeah.
still think I'm sweet. You don't need that.
Baker's not that guy. Yeah. So I don't think
No.
they would do that. If they're gonna get Baker, they're gonna roll with Baker. They not
Yep.
he's not the mentor.
No. No. He's
And
not.
And to his credit, he's not at that point in his career. I don't think I would feel him for still wanting to play.
He's earned a long-term contract. He's earned it. He's earned
I
it.
think so. I think so. I wouldn't be mad if that was a scenario that ended up working out, and then we use that 13th pick to say, a D tackle. I'm not mad at that scenario. I'm just saying, Telesco, I know you follow from Burners. If you're watching this, Baker may not cost us a pick at all. We stay in the draft where we're at and get us a D tackle and move forward. Now, a scenario that I did think about, Chan, was if let's say we went all the way to the draft day and Chicago has 1 and they have 9, I believe, in the first round. Pick number 1, pick number 9. So what if they said, all right, Vegas, pick, I don't think Malik Neighbors or Marvin Harrison Jr. would be there, but maybe the guy like Abuka or Adunze from Washington is there and they say, hey, draft one of these 2 receivers for us, whichever one of them is there, or whichever their first guy is there, if both of them are there, and we'll trade you Justin. Because they're going to want Caleb to have all the success. They're going to want to put him in the best position possible. So they're going to want to have DJ Moore there. They're going to want to have their pick that they pick at number 90, if that's an offensive guy, and then have another top flight wide receiver come. Just say they could very well end up with 2 of the top 4 receivers in the draft and Caleb. All right. And then we get our guy. And then we move on and draft in the second round and go on forward with Justin Fields as a quarterback. And we don't get Jaden Daniels and we go that route. So that was just a scenario that I thought of that could go all the way down to draft day where we just say, hey, they hit us and be like, hey, man, if you pick the receiver, we'll send you Justin. Hey, maybe it might even take for them to send us their second round pick too, because ain't nobody was giving up no first round pick for Justin Fields, especially not no 13th overall. So maybe, we send them the number 1. We pick the receiver for them and they give us their second round pick too, which is probably number 38 or so, which would be a great player, right? Mm-hmm. So that's just another scenario, but good stuff, big dog. So we went over.
We got to move up.
Scenarios.
I just want to end with this. The Raiders are in search of a franchise quarterback. Now, I know that the GM is in place now, but this is an opportunity to make a statement and move up and get one of those quarterbacks. These are the 3 quarterbacks, Drake May, to me, is you never know, right? You just don't know. I mean, Mitchell Trubisky went to, North Carolina and he's number 2 pick and nobody says anything about him being a bust, and he's absolutely a bust.
Yeah. I think people call him a bust now.
Some people that's not, because he started this year a few games in Pittsburgh. So, but I think they just need to make a move, get a quarterback, and get a bridge guy. Just send a message. The Raiders are back. We haven't really had a solid franchise quarterback since our MVP guy who took us to the Super Bowl. And I think it's time. It's time to you say this is our guy for the next 4 or 5 years. He's going to be here and he's going to make us great.
Check this too. Fun fact, heard this right as we was coming on. The Raiders have only drafted 4 QBs in the first round in their existence.
Yeah, that says a lot, man.
Doesn't it?
After my soliloquy, you're gonna hit me with that. Hey, wow. Okay, then your scenario probably looks a little bit more sweeter than mine in that.
No, I feel like your bridge guy scenario is very plausible and probably the direction they should go in, like an Alex Smith, Patrick Mahomes situation.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Jordan Love and Aaron Rodgers type.
I mean, you could get like a Tyrod Taylor. I mean, he still got some juice in the tank.
Yeah.
right? I mean,
I'm a time guy.
he gonna be exciting, right? And he can
Yeah,
scramble. So he could talk to Jaden and be like, man, look, you see this right here? I know you see it. Just remember that lineman right there, he run a 4.6. So you just get out of bounds. Just get out
yeah,
of bounds, big dog. He could
yeah,
talk to him. So Tyrod Taylor could be a good bridge, dude.
yeah,
That's it.
yeah. That's
But that's
true.
too many. That's a lot of skin color going on over there. You have Eric Bieniemy, the starting Q, the back. I'm just trying to. I'm trying to do some Black Panthers, some Wakanda. So you know, hey. So let me go ahead and pump my brakes a little bit. But hey, you know what I mean.
You big dog, but yeah, yeah. They'll be like, "What's going on in Vegas?"
Yeah,
But
exactly.
yeah, bro. So yeah, that's good shit.
Uh-huh.
Okay, man. So
Yeah.
great material there, bro. So
Thank
we
you.
are looking forward to seeing
Yeah.
which direction the Raiders are gonna go with the coordinator hire.
Yeah. Yeah.
We are also looking, I guess, for clues as to where they're gonna go with the quarterback once they do hire that offensive coordinator, because that probably will kind of indicate which way they're gonna go. And there's a lot of moving parts right now, so stay tuned on that. So thanks for that, my guy. Now we are not gonna hold the people, man. We are at, in my opinion, Chan, the best Sunday in the league. Um,
Yes.
it's even better than the Super Bowl because it's like two Super Bowls in one day you get to watch, and that is Championship Sunday.
Hmm.
So they have, in the first game, it's going to be
Hmm.
Baltimore and Kansas City, and they got Baltimore favored by 4 points. What's your thoughts, man, on Baltimore KC? Who you got?
Wow. It is definitely the prime time game, featured game for this conference weekend, and I can't tell you how excited I am as a former player and a fan of the game. I can't tell you how exciting I am. 2-1 former current MVP. I'm not even gonna say former current MVP and probably the new league MVP going head to head. For all the chips. And we had a conversation earlier this year, Duro, about Lamar Jackson, and Lamar Jackson has really taken a lot of criticism and a lot of heat, and I'm not going to say rightfully so, but a lot of it he has deserved, and he hasn't had the best record in the playoffs. But
Absolutely.
this year, there has been a change in Lamar. This is the very best I've ever seen him play. Not just because he stays in the pocket a little bit more, not because he has better weapons, but because he has been more vocal. And he's told us that in the press conference. He was a quiet guy. He's more of an introvert. And he said for the first time, he started talking in the huddle, he started talking in meetings, and he really started taking a leadership role. And you and I both know we've been in huddles before. And the quarterback, I don't care what nobody say, he is the de facto leader at all times.
Absolutely.
And when the chips stack against you, you turn and you're looking at the guy, and if he's not saying nothing, it does something to you. And Lamar has simply took the onus of the team, put everybody on his back. And not only that, he has improved his play. Let's talk about his play. Right
Oh man.
now, Lamar Jackson is playing at an all-time level. And his defense, as always, has stepped up and they played a lot better. They are
Yeah.
number one in the regular season. So this
The Ravens
team
play good D.
Prime.
They play good defense. That's like a staple of the franchise, right?
Yeah.
A
Right.
good Ravens defense.
Yeah. So here's the thing. He's going against the number two defense in the NFL, and people are really sleeping on how well the Kansas City Chiefs are playing on defense. They are number two in the league, right behind the Ravens. They are playing phenomenal football. Chris Jones is playing some of the best football he's ever played. Those middle linebackers are hunting and seeking missiles coming into. So what I think is really going to come down to is Lamar Jackson making a play. And I think that last week was really an omen for them because I think really that week off played a role in how they started because they finished like the Ravens we saw all year. That first half where everybody's like, "Who is this?" And then that second half was like, "That is them." And
Yeah,
so
right.
I see. I just as great as Patrick Mahomes. I mean, I first of all, I don't want to undersell how great Patrick Mahomes is because his team is underachieving, including Kelso, which he has just went to his head is in the clouds with every commercial and every Taylor Swift montage that they show
Yes.
up in there. But they lead the league in drops. They're up there in penalties. They lost their offensive coordinator. I don't think people really understand when you lose your offensive coordinator, you lose the heart and soul of your team. And so they're not playing great. They limped into the playoffs. They've been playing a little bit better. But I just think at this point in time, the Ravens are a little bit better team. And I think when it comes down to it, Lamar is going to make that play to get them to the next level because he's hungry and he's ready and he has an eye of the tiger, honestly.
So real quick, he's 148 carries, 821 yards, 5.5 yards per carry, 5 touchdowns to go along with the 67% completion percentage, 3,678 yards with 24 touchdowns and 7 picks. That's the season he just turned in.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm with you, man. I think Lamar's going to the Super Bowl, brother.
Absolutely. This year he is, that's for sure.
And, you know, people that see me on some of the different podcasts that I do with the other guys know that I'm a big Lamar guy, man. So, you know, I don't know about covering 4 points. It's probably going to be like some kind of either 1, 2, 3 point game, perhaps 34-31, something like that. But yeah, I got Lamar. I got the Ravens being able to do it, man. Get it done at home against the champs. In a man, what's gonna be a good game. I can't wait.
And I play with some wonderful people and I love you guys, but let's not hope it comes down to the kicker. Please.
Oh my goodness.
Because kickers, as much as I'm cool with them, they can trip when it gets tight. So
Yeah.
let's hope it doesn't come down to that because you would hope you just do not want two fabulous players like Mahomes and Jackson for it to come to a kicker who misses a kick left or right. That's what you don't
But,
want to see in this type of game.
but you know it is.
It is. It definitely is. It is. I know it is. I'm hoping it's not, but it is. It's going to be a kicker game, man, at the end. And when it's all said and done.
All right, so that's the American Football Conference Championship.
Mm-hmm.
Moving on over to the other
Mm-hmm.
game, the National Football Conference. They got the San Francisco 49ers favored by 7.5.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't think that's gonna happen. I'm almost certain
Mm-hmm.
that's not gonna happen. And you know what, man? To be honest, I picked the Niners on a
Mm-hmm.
show where we were doing predictions way back in September. You know, it's just ridiculous to pick a fucking Super Bowl champion in September. But hey, we do that on the show for S's and giggles. You understand? And
Mm-hmm.
I happen to pick them. They're still in it. They're 2 victories away from proving me right.
Mm-hmm.
I also watched the Green Bay playoff game, and I know, just like we talked about, that this I ain't even gonna say should be because I don't like to say that, but the
Yeah.
Niners know that this really could be Detroit and Green Bay playing right now.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So Mr. Purdy,
Mm-hmm.
if he doesn't, I'll just say it like this, because I caught flack from Richard Sherman and some other people on Twitter because I said he has to be better than he has been. I'll just say this. If he plays like he played against Green Bay, Detroit is going to the Super Bowl. But what I think is going to happen, they just announced Debo is in fact playing. Debo is going to set the tone early. McCaffrey going to get loose. They're going to loosen up that Detroit defense. And I got the Niners kind of squeaking by, nowhere near 7.5. But I got Niners and Baltimore. What you think?
So I've been pretty critical of Brock Purdy. So I don't know where, sometimes our friend Richard, he gets a little bit emotional. We've seen that happen. We've seen it, that interview, right, with on the
Right.
sideline, and we've watched him with Skip. He gets a little emotional. I try not to get too emotional, too high or low. But the fact is, Brock Purdy had the third worst completion percentage in the postseason. His completion percentage in one game was 59%. That is not even great. That's not bad. That is actually terrible. And the only people who were worse than him was Tua at 51
Yikes.
and Mason Rudolph at 56. So that doesn't bode well for someone who has Super Bowl aspirations. One, let's just get that out the way. Okay. Two, he does get overly criticized because he went to a good team. He was Mr. Irrelevant. And he's with a play caller who has innovation, and they able to get it to players who can make plays. Okay. But that's not his fault where he was drafted, and he made the most of where he's at. So you can't knock him for that. He got drafted there. He's doing what he do. If I hire you for a job and you sweet, you can't be mad because I'm sweet, even though it's Apple. If you sweet, hey, you sweet. So he's going to have to play better than 59% to beat the Lions. Here's the
Yeah,
here,
no
here's
doubt.
the here's the problem. The problem is Jared Goff. And if you pressure Jared Goff, if you hit Jared Goff, if you put him on the ground, he's a different player. He's a different quarterback. He's not that same confident guy. And when you look in the huddle and you look in the quarterback eye and he looks scared, everybody gets scared.
Yeah.
Everybody's scared, even the D, right? Even the D. And then you start feeling like,
Well,
oh man, if Jared is scared, I'm kind of scared.
like
So
we
I
should get
think it's
tipped out. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I think because he's always a pocket passer, that doesn't bode well against the San Francisco defense. Now, people talk about the San Francisco defense, but they didn't play that great this year.
Yeah.
So they've given up some yards in the postseason, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Green Bay was running the football on them.
they did not they looked like a shell of themselves, even though it was one game. They gave up a lot of yards. They gave up a lot of rushing yards, and really Green Bay showed the blueprint on how to beat the 49ers. Run it down their throats.
Yeah.
And right? Aaron Jones ran it down their throats, and he had a fantastic game. Okay, so
Yeah.
that pushed him back in defense. With all that said, it's going to be an uphill battle for the Lions to beat the 49ers. And I just do not see the Lions coming out on top in this game. I do not have the faith that Jared Goff can get them to the next level against
Yeah.
this team in
Yeah.
particular.
Yeah. I hear you. So we agree. We're thinking the home teams in the Baltimore San Francisco Super Bowl, which is a rematch of a game a few weeks ago here. And the Ravens really handled their business against the Niners. So that was interesting. But I agree with you, brother. And man, that is probably gonna wrap it up, man. We ain't gonna hold to people, man. I 1,000% appreciate you pulling up for us, brother. That's Chan.
That's
He will be back on the show. He's gonna be a friend of the program, excellent contributor. big Raider guy. Continue to support us, good people. Like, share, comment, subscribe on YouTube. Download us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, all the platforms. Put it on auto download. Follow the show. We need the support. We love you. We appreciate it too. So, Chan, man, thanks for pulling up, bro. Until next
Absolutely.
time, just win, baby. Go Raiders. And peace.